Hey Baylor fans, this is your call to gear up with Harley-Davidson of Waco. Whether you're hitting the open road or tailgating at McLean Stadium, we've got the ride to match your Bear pride. Check out our wide selection of new and pre-owned motorcycles, visit our service department, or shop all the latest gear and accessories to show off your Baylor spirit and Harley pride. Visit us today and find your freedom on two wheels. Harley-Davidson of Waco, where Baylor fans never ride alone. Visit in-store or at hdwaco.com. Sic Em Bears.
Hi, everybody, and welcome into this week's Sic Em Podcast presented by Harley-Davidson of Waco. We are glad you're with us. Let's talk some Baylor women's basketball today, and welcome to Baylor, new associate head coach for Baylor women's basketball, Johnnie Harris. Thanks for being on with us.
Thank you, Sic Em.
And welcome to Baylor. How's the transition going for you?
It's been great.
Yeah.
I'm loving Waco. I've gotten a chance to get out and ride around and visit some really good restaurants.
There's some good ones.
Yeah, so it's been really good.
Good. What's that like? I mean, as a coach, you've moved a few times. Most coaches do. What's the checklist, the to-do list when you go to a new place?
Well, here we hit the ground running with recruiting because it was recruiting season. So just hit the ground running, finding a place, getting acclimated with the team. They were just starting postseason workouts. So I was able to get in, with some workouts. We had recruits in. I think we had a recruit in the second day, my second day. So, and that's always fun.
Yeah.
Just hit the ground running.
Great. Very good. Most recently, head coach at Auburn for the last 4 years, and Auburn's loss is our gain. We're glad to have you here on Coach Collins' staff. I'm always interested in the background, how you knew Nikki Collin, or does it go back to Tom Collin maybe?
So, I knew both of them from Arkansas.
Yeah.
I knew Tony Green, Tari Cummins.
Okay.
So we both coached at Arkansas Fort Smith. She played at Arkansas Fort Smith, and she's in the Hall of Fame as a player.
There you go.
And I'm in there as a coach. So just knowing this entire staff, it's been an easy transition. It was an easy decision because of that.
Wow. Well, you're a great addition to the staff, and we're glad you're here. So you have so much experience. I think 27 years coaching experience. To me, you've been a lot of places, and you've had a lot of success. I mean, you've been on staffs that have won a lot of games.
Yes, I've been blessed to be with some Hall of Fame coaches and coaches that really put you out there, giving you an opportunity, so and not every coach is like that, but I've been blessed to be with some really good coaches that have given me the opportunity to grow and learn. And, and I'm looking forward to bringing all that experience here with this staff. Coach Nikki is awesome, and she has she also she let her staff work, and so they're fun to work with. We share the same philosophy. The more I talk to them, the more it's like, wow, we think alike. Yeah. So I just really think it's going to be a smooth transition. I think it's going to be really good.
Good. Very good. Yeah. You talk about Hall of Fame coaches you've worked with. I noticed on your resume, Kay Yao, 1 year at North Carolina State. What was that experience like for you?
It was really good. I was actually, when I met her, I was coaching at a junior college. And she came in and she was recruiting some of the players we were playing against.
Okay.
Well, we went on to beat them, and this was at UA Fort Smith, and my boss he had a lot of media because it was a huge game, and so he asked me to kind of talk to Coach Yao, and I talked to her. And, it was my first time meeting her, and she was amazing. And she sat back and she said, I've been watching you, and you remind me a lot of myself. She said, I have a soft voice, you have a soft voice. But she said, I can tell you're very impactful with your players. And she said, don't let anybody tell you because you have a soft voice that it's not important. She said, what you have is very impactful. And so that was in February.
Wow.
And I never spoke to her again after that until she had a spot open on her staff, and she called me and she told me, I knew that day I wanted to hire you. And so it was amazing. Just an amazing person on and off the court.
Wow.
Yes.
It's a real credit to you, too, that you, she remembered you just from that first meeting, and then when she had a chance, she hired you.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's wonderful.
Yeah.
Another coach you worked with, a guy we know pretty well, is Gary Blair at Arkansas and then Texas A&M, and you were on that staff that won a national championship at A&M.
Yes, Coach Blair, again, he's somebody who, he gives you the clipboard and tell you to go to work. So I learned a lot. I learned a lot working with Coach Blair, and he's still a part of my life. He still calls and check on me and, send encouragement and sometimes critiques. But he's been awesome and always will be a big part of my life.
That's great.
Yeah.
All right, so this is just you and I talking. Coach Blair may be watching. What was the thought about playing Baylor during that time? I mean, there was some knockdown, drag-out game. Nothing bad, but just some really good matchups between Baylor and A&M.
That was the rivalry when I was there, and those games were always close. It was always a 1 or 2 possession game. So, it was... staying in the office all night, making sure we have everything down packed and making sure that we were prepared and that our players were prepared. So, it was that was a very intense week whenever we were getting ready to play Baylor.
I bet that's right. That 2011 season, you're reminding me that A&M and Baylor played 4 times that year?
We played 4 times that year. We played home and home, and then we played in the championship of the Big 12 tournament. And
Baylor won those?
Baylor won all 3 of those games. And it was crazy because we led probably for at least 30 minutes in all of those games.
Wow.
And then the last game, we played in the regional championship in Dallas, and we won that game. And I think that was the first game that year that we led from the start.
Yeah.
So, some knockdown dragouts for Baylor.
Really, really good matchups. And I remember I covered that game. Was it at Reunion Arena? It was, wasn't it?
I believe it was.
I think it was in 2000. I know it was in Dallas, but 2011. Great crowd, great atmosphere.
It was.
The winner goes to the women's Final Four. What a great matchup that was.
Yes, it was a great matchup. We went to the Final Four in Indy, and that year it was us, Notre Dame, Stanford, and UConn. And we ended up playing Stanford first, and we beat them on the last second shot.
Wow.
And then we played Notre Dame, and we ended up winning that game, the national championship. And that game is probably my most significant game in my career because, I was our special team coach.
Okay.
So Coach Blair let me call plays. For inbound plays. So we're up 1 with just a few seconds left. And so I was like, he is not going to let me call this play. But he did. He looked at me. He was like, what you got? And so I called the play, and we hit a 3 and went up 4 and went on to win that game. So that game was really special for me.
I imagine. National championship.
Yes.
That's great. That's really cool. And that was, a real coup for the Big 12 Conference, to have a conference school. Not Baylor. I mean, Baylor won 3 right around that time, but another school to win a national championship.
Yeah, and we won it that year, which was 2011. The very next year, Baylor won it. And what's crazy is the Final Four that year was everybody else except us. Baylor replaced us. So it was Baylor, it was Stanford, it was UConn, and it was Notre Dame. And so Baylor won the championship that year.
That? So, that's great.
Yeah.
So work with Coach Blair, and then you have an opportunity to work with Vic Schaefer a couple of places. Yes. Mississippi State, great success there, and then moved with him to the University of Texas.
Yes, and I started out with Vic at, we were assistants at Texas A&M. So I learned a lot from Vic. From being in his office, he taught me how to do scouting reports the way he wanted them done. And I was on the floor with him with every workout. He worked out the guards, he worked out the posts, he worked out the wings. So I was on the floor with him with all of that. So just was able to soak up a lot of knowledge from him, and he's great. He's like a brother. Yeah. So I had a really great experience working with him. learning from him and winning with him.
Right.
Yes.
Won a lot.
Yes.
Did you go to back-to-back Final Fours or championship games?
We
didn't you?
did.
Yeah.
We did. So we took over a program that didn't win a game the year before. And our first recruiting class, by the time they were seniors, they won a national they played for a national championship.
Wow.
Yes. And then they graduated. We graduated 4. And then the very next year, that second class, we were able to play for a national championship again.
Wow.
So, yeah, it was, back then you could really build programs. Kids didn't transfer as much. And so we were able to recruit, retain, and develop.
Yeah.
So, and those kids stayed the course and they played hard. They were tough. We didn't have All-Americans. We just had kids that were tough and got after it. So those were some really fun times. But that's when you learn a lot about yourself, about the game. So it was really good.
Good. You come to Texas with Coach Schaefer, and here you go. You're matched up playing Baylor again 2 or 3 times a year, right?
Yes, I remember. So the game we played here was that storm. It was that ice storm. So we got here, and then there was nobody in the gym.
That's right. They couldn't.
You had that storm, and then it took us forever to get back to Austin, and then everything was shut down for a while. So so I always remember that game, and still. That game was a tough game. Yeah. So every game I've played against Baylor has been really, really tough. Tough competition. So, it's
some memories
fun.
there.
Yeah.
For sure. What would you say, is there a common thread that you've noticed, like the coaches, like we've talked about, Kay Yao and Gary Blair and Vic Schaefer, and there's others, that you've worked for. Is there and now Nikki Collin, a common thread with those coaches or successful coaches that you've learned from and instituted yourself?
Yeah, well, defense is important with all of them, but so is offense. System. I think they're all. I've worked for some really good people, really good coaches, but really good people off the court as well that care a lot about their players. One of the things that I've treasured the most in my short time here right now is our time at Nikki's house when we have recruits in. And you have the entire team there, and it's a family atmosphere.
Yeah.
Those are the people that I really enjoy working with. That's the kind of person I am, and so that's kind of been common with all the coaches that I've worked with.
Oh, good. That's really good. Tell us about your family. You got a couple of kids and a couple of grandkids also?
4 grandkids.
4,
One just graduated. One is itching. I have a 11-year-old grandson that's itching to come here to come to camp.
Good.
He want to come to football camp and basketball camp.
Bring him on.
And he did all those things at Auburn, at Tech, wherever I've been. So, and then 2 babies, 3-year-old and a 2-year-old. So, yeah.
That's fun.
Yeah. And so my son is the oldest, Marcus, and then I have a daughter, Kiera. And then I have a lot of a lot of kids that call me mom that people think I'm their mom, but really, so I have a lot. I love kids. I've been coaching a long time, and part of the thing that drives me is making sure that they're ready for life after basketball.
Right.
And sometimes, you hang on. I'm always in my players' lives, so. Players that I coached when I first started, when I was a GA, I still talk to and encourage and try to help if I can.
Yeah, I can see that. That's great. That's great quality about you. What about the move here? Was it an easy choice for you? I'm guessing with your background, your experience, I'm guessing you had some other options than just the Baylor job.
I did. I had some other options, and as well as some head coaching options.
Okay.
But I just really wanted to get to a winning program. I wanted to be with good people. I felt like, after talking to Nikki and talking to Tony and Tari and, everybody that I talked to, I felt like Baylor is right there. And so I'm just excited to see where we can go and where we could take this team.
Boy, that's great. We got good people here. You probably already know that, but we've got really good people. That Fort Smith connection with Tari, that's really cool. I'd forgotten about that connection.
Yes. She played for Coach Lewis Horton, and I coached with him. And when Kay Yao came and offered me the job, I remember I didn't want to take it because I love Lewis Horton. I didn't want to take the job, but he said, "Well, if you don't take it, I'm going to fire you.
Oh.
If you take it, I'm never going to speak to you again."
Is that right?
He said,
That's funny.
It might have been the other way around. He said, "If you take this job, I'm never going to speak to you again.
Yeah.
But if you don't take it, I'm going to fire you because you're not going to be smart enough to work for me." But he said, "But the one thing that I do need you to do is find your successor."
Oh, really?
So, yeah. And so I think he talked to Tari before I did, and she told him no. So then he was like, "Okay, you got to make this happen." And so I talked to her. She told me no, but between the two of us, we wore it down.
Yeah.
And so she took that job after me.
How about that?
Yes.
So she followed you in that job.
Yes.
That is really cool. So here from Auburn, the last 4 years at Auburn, and I look at our roster, the Baylor roster that's getting filled up, and looks like we've got a couple of new players here at Baylor that you know pretty well.
Yes, Talia Scott and Yuting Dong.
Yeah.
And I know it's spelled D-E-N-G, but it's pronounced Dunk.
Okay.
So really excited about those two. Talia only got a chance to play 3 games with us, not even 3. She played her first game at Auburn. She was coming off of surgery, but her first game was the middle of November, and she tied a record with 8 threes.
Wow.
She either tied it or broke it.
Okay.
With 8 threes in that arena. And then the second game, we went to Oregon and played, and she had 7.
God.
And then she got hurt in the third game, and she was out the rest of the season.
Man.
So that was a big blow to us. Then we got Yuting at Christmas time. She wanted to play right away. We were initially looking at redshirting her and having her for 4 years, but she wanted to play.
Mm-hmm.
So she comes in. Her first game is against Texas, and we had the shoes she had just wasn't working for her. So she couldn't stand up in them. She was falling out. So I took her out of the game. I was like, "Okay, we're gonna figure this shoe thing out and get you ready for the next game." And then she played the next game, and then the following game, she sprained her ankle before the game. She was out for 3 games, and then she was back, but never really, never really herself. So in saying that, I told Coach Nikki, "You haven't seen the best of those two. Like, those two are really, really good players, and I think the best is ahead for both of them."
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm glad they're here in the green and gold. That's going to be fun to see them on the court. Yeah.
Yes.
Very cool. Well, we're glad you're here, and I think you're a great addition to the Baylor women's basketball staff. And, we've got a really good history here in all sports, but women's basketball with 3 national championships. So with your experience and your success, I think you're going to fit right in and really help us get another one.
I'm looking forward to that. We all about rings and things.
All about the rings. It's great to have you here, and thanks for the visit.
Thank you.
All right, Coach Johnnie Harris with us on the Sic Em Podcast, presented by Harley Davidson of Waco.